kind of taking it back to your time at Iowa, can you kind of talk about maybe that 2015 season with Brandon? Like, did you see things in the weight room that were maybe different that you could foreshadow some success, or just the culture in the weight room? I'm curious, just your
Um,
time during that period.
yeah, no, I'm gonna probably say a very similar thing that I said on the washed up walk-ons. Like it was evident in the everyday life, not just in the weight
Yeah.
room. Like it
Yeah.
was, and the thing that made it really cool is that you guys owned it. During
Yeah.
2014, we read Slight Edge as a strength and conditioning staff during that season. And at one point, we were 7-3 playing Wisconsin night game. It wasn't technically a night game. It was one of those. You know how it gets at Kinnick in
Yeah.
November when it's a 3:30 kick, ABC. It has that feel, right?
Definitely.
So a back and forth game. We lose. Then we lose to Nebraska after being ahead of them by like 17 points, and we kind of just start not performing as well as we could have. And then that book, I became obsessed with it, and Doyle gave it to the coaching staff to read, and then I think the coaches read it. Then we got the leadership team to read it, and you guys owned it. Like it
Mhm.
was the joke walking around was like, oh, Slight Edge. Like you guys would walk past, you'd walk past some dessert. Oh, Slight Edge. Like, and you guys made it a joke, but like you actually were living it.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, what helped was when you like, okay, you go and you beat a Wisconsin team. It's like, oh shoot, like, all right, we beat North Texas. We should have beat. Who else? You start off against the FCS team. Yeah, cool. We're supposed to beat them. You beat Iowa State after losing on the road. That was good. Pitt, you have the game with the like, shoot. Talk about chills when you got Brandon Greenwood walking out the swarm. Right? You
Yeah.
kidding me? Yeah, and then the Wisconsin, and you're like, all right, like there's a little something to this, and
Yeah.
it just
That
became
goal line stand at Wisconsin was like the turning point of
wild.
belief. That was like I'll just never forget. Even I don't know, you could just feel it going into Wisconsin that day, but it was like it all came to fruition on that goal line stand. It was like, okay, this shit actually works, like we're actually like we can do this, and it just kept snowballing from there. But
And that's it. When the players believe, like it really
yeah,
is, it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. You have to find like we introduced the topic to it, and that's the thing that can be difficult about coaching, about anything, is you have to introduce a concept and kind of be okay with it falling flat if somebody doesn't believe in it. But you have to be willing to keep giving suggestions because we put it out there to you guys and it stuck. And
yeah,
there's kind of a version of it now. Like I don't know if it's still the Iowa Edge or they fully did go back to break the rock. It seems like they've gone back to break, but it's the same exact premise. Simple daily disciplines repeated over time lead to staggering results. It's boring, but it is true.
yeah. I'll never forget the other cool thing too that they did with it was they kind of like within the Hawkeye Challenge groups that we had or teams had to come up with like presentations. The one that really stuck with me. So then like, I think the thing about the slight edge is that like that part became like a joke or whatever, slight edge, but like the stories within the book were like actually I think what hit home, and then having the players present on those stories was like super powerful. I'll never forget like Brady's. I know he was talking about like what was it, the satellite or whatever that had to constantly like just readjust like its course or whatever, and like it just it was things you came back to, and it was really powerful within the group. And I don't know that was whoever, that decision to use that book at that time was exactly what we needed. And it was just crazy. Like the group that led that team was, I mean, relative to other, senior groups was not nearly as talented. Even the year before,
I
you
don't know.
had
Let's
Sheriff and
like
all
you
those,
want to talk talent though. Like that team was studded. I said this to
but
Cody the other day. Like in hindsight, that team was loaded.
yeah, but you're talking about like the Blyce of the world, and like for me, it was Lomax, who I was following, who
Yeah.
again like never really had like an NFL career, but was just an absolute dog that year, and was like the perfect leader for the defensive back group. Yes, there was a ton of talent in that group, but like I think from the seniors specifically, I don't think it was like overly loaded.
But and that's the point is like leadership is never just dependent upon your
Yeah,
class.
exactly,
Like in
exactly.
it should never just be like, oh well you're and I remember we used to talk about it with you guys. Like leadership is not waiting to get your ticket at the deli. Like, oh, it's my turn. It's like, no, like the cream rises to the top. And like, yeah, there was again a ton of talented football players that all believed in a common mission of something and went, and like that's the scary thing is when you can get a group of people
Yeah.
that true, like you have to be talented to begin with because okay,
Yeah.
I'm a really hardworking person, but I'll be damned if you want me out on a corner by myself. Like you don't want that, you know?
Yeah.
So like you have to have some talent. You have to care about the person inside the room. And there was so many good, vivid stories about, you know, from the Slide Edge that people could resonate with. But then we were also, you want to talk about things that the strength staff did? We were psychopathic about it because y'all would, at the end of practice, because I think we had like 19 different, because there's just so many good stories, like the penny and the cream with the frog swimming, right? So there's all these different stories. Well, we knew, okay, hey, so-and-so is going to present on this topic at the end of practice. Well, during practice, what did the strength staff do? When we were done returning people doing return to play, we were in the locker room putting a picture. We'd print off a picture of whatever it was. So if it was a story about the frog that gave up in the milk and turned it into cream, like we had a frog on cream and a frog that drowned. Like literally would make some images, stick it up, and put it on your guys' locker. And then it stayed up there until the next time. Like, and we would just drive the point home. We would drive the point home with, I was the one that was writing the performance news that year too. So like it would just always we just made sure like you read or listen to Steve Jobs' autobiography, Distortion Reality. We distorted everybody's reality. We're like, hey, no, like it can be done. And guess what? It could be done. That was a beautiful part about it.
Yeah.
You spoke to the staff a little bit. Just maybe talk about what it was like being on a part of that, not only coaching staff with a bunch of legends who are still working there, but also, you know, even the other strength coaches, Doyle, DeMarco, Joel, just a bunch of very intelligent guys. So maybe just speak to what it was like. And yeah, we believe iron sharpens iron. So what was it like being a part of that staff?
It was like the most hyper competitive thing ever. Like, oh, you're going to read a book a month. I'm going to read a book every 3 weeks. Like, you're lazy. Like, oh, you're going to show up at 4. I'm going to show up at 3:55. Like, and it was just that hyper competitive. I don't want you to be better than me at something. But it was also, I'm not going to become too obsessed. Sometimes we did get too obsessed of like being better than you, but like, how can it be the best version of me? Because like, okay, let me read all these different books. Let me learn, let me program, let me do all the things so that way I can, you know, again, try to be the best version of myself on the floor. Because at the end of the day, we all wanted the same thing. We all wanted to have that opportunity to be a head guy. And so it was like, all right, how can we just sharpen our skill around each other? Because, you know, all right, what can I learn from you? All right, I don't like that about you, but I can learn this over here. All right, what are you learning about? And just finding ways to learn from each other. And one of the worst parts about though working at Iowa, the position coaches have it so good they don't want to leave. So you're like, can you please, like, if you could go get a head coach job and then bring one of us, that'd be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, y'all don't do that.
No,
I haven't thought about that.
it is the game.
It's like you're not helping us. Like, go get a head coach job and hire us. Come on, bro. What's going on?
They're all still there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'll never forget. It was 2019. We had an O-line. The O-line coach left after 2018. He got a job by the Dolphins. We had an opening, and I got a call from Brian. And I was, you know, coaching on the floor, whatever. We were in the off season. I get back and I saw a missed call and a voicemail. I was like, here it is. He finally got a job. Like, he's like, oh, we got a candidate for that open O-line job. It's like, oh, I'll put your name in the hat, but you ain't gonna listen to me.